Any question from the floor?
Just want to ask, you talked about a lot about integration and bonding between iCUSU and the societies, but how are you going, specifically, how are you going to achieve this? Because this year's problem is we were going to do that, but we can't find many events that you can actually organize with those societies. The difference between iCUSU and these societies is that they have specific targeting people. For example, Chinese society, they have freshers and they have third year, fourth year. Every time they organize an event, there will be 150 people going. They probably just don't want the help from iCUSU. I just want to ask specifically, how are you going to deal with these kind of situations, and what kind of activities do you want to organize with those societies? Thank you.
I'll just end. So yeah, I agree that I think, in fact, one of the fundamental problems facing iCUSU is the fact of how to be exactly go about achieving integration and cooperation. So it's not something that can be achieved overnight. It requires very small steps to take. So I mean, we really have events such as the presidential tea party to gain presidential cooperation. And I think you're right in saying that there's certain events such as which are really catered to more like a national crowd. But as I said, there are a lot of few universally enjoyable activities, such as sports, which we have in the World Cup. We have food, we have music. So I think that which is why I mentioned that I think in terms of the current events roster, it's great. So what we need to rework on now is increasing event attendance for these events. So this can be achieved by that again brings us back to how we're going to get participation for other international societies. So I think just speaking from my experience in Kumsai Committee again, we actually strive to cooperate with iCUSU as much as possible. So especially in terms of the World Cup, and because I realized my experience with World Cup was that they just sent out a mailing list, just an email to all the international presidents. And I felt that maybe it would have been kind of lost in translation somewhere. So I think what really needs to happen is that it's not only the chair that it's not only the society coordinator that needs to work and be part of it. It's also the publicity officer and the chair, and also not just that. I think we've always kind of neglected the international reps. I know the steps been taken to rectify this. But a large part, as in we can't forget that international students do have a home with the college. So that's where the international reps come in, and they can really just by themselves. They can organize formal swaps, which was what in my personal experience happened because of the international rep. Because the international rep didn't mind, the international rep at Gershon organized many formal swaps between Johns and other colleges. So it's really a matter of I think of iCUSU as really just the middleman, bringing societies together. We're not looking to be a society in ourselves, but what we are is, as iCUSU, we are just the middleman, just bringing people together and connecting people. Yeah.
So I think in terms of collaboration, forming partnerships and bonding is key. It's definitely key for iCUSU with other societies, and I think the best approach to that is to demonstration, persuasiveness, and then execution. So we want to demonstrate our values, demonstrate our unique angle for creating these big events, such as the international conferences, where we have our specific focus from an international angle into these events. And persuasiveness, with better time management. So we listed time events at different time frames. So at each term, I think a lot of events are happening at the end of each term, so that there's a lot of conflicts and a lot of conjunctions between the events. So I'm making sure that having the events in a better suitable timetable and not conflicting with other societies, so in the early of each term, so that to be able to persuade other societies to form these kind of partnerships and collaboration with us. And finally, I want to making sure that we are doing our best to provide these platforms, events, communications, discussions, and encouragements. Just do the best. and I think we'll be able to solve the issues.
Any other questions?
I got a question for both of you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Both of you mentioned about the introduction of a new event. However, do you think that every time you introduce a new event, the turn-up rate may not be so great? And how would you overcome this problem? Or do you think there is actually a saturation of these events? Are there any existing events that you could improve on instead of introducing new events?
That's what I'm saying. I'm looking into not just adding new events, but it's always like you add up and you always minus something. So I would look into the things that I think that is not gonna make a huge impact or having conflict with other societies. And for instance, if you just mentioned doing 3 puntings in a row is not gonna be a good thing for anybody. And I think I'm looking into cutting this unnecessary conflict events and be able to single out our international perspective as organizing events. That's my approach to this.
Yeah, and I think my approach was just really, because in terms of the event roster, as I mentioned, I was really satisfied with it. So I'm not really looking to add anything to it because I believe that there only have so much events that can go on in the Cambridge calendar. And with regards to international events, what would internationals actually go for there? Like I mentioned, food, music, sports. Yeah. So what I really think is really that's why my whole manifesto just focused around improving our presence. So it's not so much of I mean, again, integration is it's just one part of it. But when I was just asking just from my international friends, what do you think of iCUSU? They said, yeah, we had fun doing International Freshers Week, but after that, we just stopped going for the events. And these were people from the American and the European countries. So I think what we need to be done is really just to improve our presence, because what's literally the word that everyone uses, like iCUSU has no presence, iCUSU has no presence. So I think if that's what international students are saying, I think that we should give them what they want. We should work on iCUSU's presence, and my personal belief, and from my experience with organizing KUMSA events, is that if you increase the presence, make it look that we are professional organization with serious aims and objectives, and naturally people will flock to it. I mean, look at the established societies I'm part of the Law Society. They hold incredible socials. Everyone's get on the ball. So I mean, why can't iCUSU be something like that? I mean, it's a really tall order, but what they have is a really long and established history of organizing great events. So I mean, if we want to get the presence out, raise our presence out through, for example, not just inter-society, but especially maybe in social media, you definitely see improvement. It might take a while, but I think we need to make that really push as of now.
Right. And I think how to attract more students, I firmly believe that is having great events. So having said that, I think having a plan as early as possible, and I want to give a timetable of the entire year event as early as possible, the exact dates, and when we would like it to carry out. And I think to increase the presence of our society, and also increase and creating more events for the people to go to.
Maybe I just add on that. So, I mean, because again, speaking from my experience in the National Society Committee, it's really hard to to just plan out in advance what events, when are your events, because there's going to be last minute cancellations. And so I think that's why I thought a Google Calendar would be great, and I think it's on the iCUSU site. I think it was probably there since 2012, 13 or something, but it's kind of empty. So really, that's one of my just main ideas. I think in terms of because that Google Calendar means that everyone can just add it to their own calendar and it'll pop up on their feed, and it also allow for international societies to amend it by themselves. So again, it requires a lot of initiative and cooperation from international societies to get the events in, and for us to publicize this event calendar to everyone else.
I think Google Calendar is definitely a very good point to keep everyone updated to the every single events that's going on. But I still think we should have a master plan of outlined events to actually making people aware that what's going on, because Cambridge students are busy with their studies anyway, so they could be informed ages before the event, and then by selling like early bird tickets and making sure we're booking the revenues as early as possible, so that we could reduce the costs if later on, say, we just make a booking in 2 weeks of time, it's going to be difficult and costly as well.